Hi everyone, it is June 3rd, 2024. It's another day living in the US of A. And I identify Sandra. Yeah, drained. This world is very draining. There's nothing inspiring. And that is very draining. Because you'd love to be able to be inspired, by something, somewhere, someone, and I ain't finding it. Maybe you guys are finding it. Hello, Alicia. Wonder Why, Sandra, Donna Davidson, One Giant Lie, Crazy Pots. Hello. And Andrew Cruz, Donna Davidson again, Kim Blanchard, Justin Wynn, Rage Against the Machine and Agnes, Jane Northrup, Super Painting 62, Awakened Sleeper and Elizabeth and Space Indian and Darren James Spencer, T. Lamb and Silent Walk and Darren James Spencer. I probably said that. I think I did, and I am losing my mind. Oracle 11 and BMCC, Sheepdog Patriot. Hi, Angelos. I'll be repeating myself, no doubt. Tony from Montana. And let's look at radar. This has been a slow-moving storm, because this was traveling through Oklahoma and a bit of North Texas this morning, and it's still going on, though it has kind of made its way out of Oklahoma. But look at these extremely low frequencies involved here in Texas. And Texas has a tornado warning. But let's not discuss these very straight lines that are called extremely low frequencies, in which they can use for modifying, intensifying, steering storms. But let's just ignore that, okay? Like everybody else does. We'll just ignore it. Look at all of these supercells igniting in Tennessee, Kentucky, into Illinois, and you got them in Alabama and Louisiana. Got a couple up here, North Texas. And yeah, the supercell creation right over into Mexico. Oh boy. And you got some supercells up here in South Dakota and North Dakota. They all do seem to just show up in a line. Here we got a line here in Montana. All right. Oh, you got some coming into, is it Michigan? Leaving Wisconsin, going into those Great Lakes up there. Stay safe. Here's the, well, let me refresh. Nope, still there. And South Dakota. Right here. Whoop, wrong way. Very, very close to the border of North Dakota. You've got a tornado warning in Perkins, South Dakota. You have a tornado warning in Hunt, Texas. And they give this is why I have posted the link to this, because they give more details of where the warnings are exactly. My God. Yep, let's ignore it. All right, so, yeah, we've got weather. We have weather. But first, this fast-spreading wildfire in California prompts evacuations. I find it interesting. I saw on 2 network mainstream media, within like just a few minutes of each other, post videos, and they say California prompts evacuate. These evacuations, 75% contained for this fire, and a whole lot of the evacuations were lifted. And I knew that before seeing these videos posted by CBS, and I think the other one was either ABC or NBC. But it reads as if the fire is still going on and more evacuations are taking place. Mainstream media, do you really need to do clickbait? I guess so. Look at this. Okay, so you see, and I saw a comment from someone who said, you know, people argue that it's because of all of the moisture in the trees, whether or not they will catch fire. Look at the destruction of this house and the cars. There's no moisture right here, not in dead limbs. Dead limbs. So that argument does not work very well, especially when you see that if it was a wildfire, this house would have gotten to this condition in probably 48 hours. It would have taken a whole long time to bring it to this condition. So I do believe that we've got directed energy weapons in use.
In others narrowly spared.
So the reporter on mainstream media is talking about how, well, yeah, this is the burn scar. It's the burn scar. This looks very strange. Very strange. But here he's talking about the destruction of this house, and then, well, I think it's a mystery how other structures were saved.
With some properties leveled and others narrowly spared.
Others narrowly spared. So, someone put out this fire, I guess, to save all of this and other structures that I showed last night. But for some reason, this one was just brought to dust. It pisses me off to no end to listen to these propagandists reading their scripts and getting paid to do it.
In others narrowly spared.
Everything was getting lit on fire. It was intense.
Kern Gill took this video of the fire closing in on his home. He said he and a neighbor stayed behind to fight the flames off, even pulling water from a swimming pool.
We took just anything we had that could pail water, buckets, cans, whatever we could find. I feel like if I wasn't here, it would have just everything would have burned down.
Now the
structures that I showed, this man is not saying that there were a lot of structures that were completely fine, and I showed that video last night where it was just that one house that was brought to dust, just one house. So this is not the structure. That's not that structure. So for some reason, right smack in the middle of this fast spreading wildfire that was so intensely hot that it brought to dust a house in a short period of time. But these are completely fine. Smoke everywhere, couldn't breathe. Residents described what it was like when Corral Fire burned.
Everything around us is burning. All my neighbors are burning. All the neighborhood's burning. Everything's burning.
Phone is going crazy all day long.
People are worried about you.
Oh yeah, 100%. We couldn't leave. No one could come in. No one could leave. It's just been wild. The fires were just insane. 200-foot flames.
And all gone. The elderly couple.
All right, I thought that was another video, but what the hell is going on in California? All right, well, raging multi-vehicle fire spreads to Studio City apartment building. Look at this. So all of these vehicles are on fire. Was it an electric vehicle that started this? What else could explain it? Except for directed energy weapons, but it's I have to say, and there goes the alarm, that California really is just burning up.
I live here. My name is Hatea Russo. I just woke up to the sound of crackling and a scream, and I looked out my window and saw red, and I grabbed my cat and woke everybody up and came out and looked. My car was on fire. All the cars in our little parking spot are on fire. I don't know what happened, and it grew really fast. The whole apartment building caught. We still have a cat in the apartment. I'm stressed about that. My car's gone, but I'm happy to be alive. I have no idea how this happened at all. I have no clue. It's 4 a.m. right now. I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
I'm glad you're alive.
I'm glad I'm alive.
Another major fire in California. This one, Redwood City fire torches affordable housing site. And with that came evacuations. Oh, I didn't have my mic on. Another fire. Did you even hear me when I was talking about this fire? Did you hear me when I was talking about the fire of the affordable housing complex that was going up with the evacuations? So now, I posted the Studio City, San Jose, California. This is all today, starting yesterday and today. You had the wildfire. You have these fires. And this.
With the breaking news out of San Jose, our choppers over multiple house fires. This is just south of Lake Cunningham Park And across the street from Reed Hillview Airport, Lake Cunningham Park and Reed Hillview separated by East Capitol Expressway.
Now the flames bursting through the roofs of those homes and the smoke covering several blocks. A few streets away, more homes have caught fire.
Okay, these fires started inside, bursting through the roofs of homes, multiple homes that were not near one another. Okay? All right. Just wanted to make sure that you got that.
Fire. This is the scene from the ground. It is near the intersection of Sandpoint Drive and Quimby Road. Right now, we do not know what started these fires. It is so dangerous in the area that police just made our photographer leave the scene. Again, this is happening just east of Capitol Expressway near the East Ridge Mall. The San Jose Fire Department says there are 3 separate fires in that area, and we do not know how they started, if they're related or not. But the homes are at least a block apart. They are asking everyone to avoid the area.
The whole neighborhood is covered in smoke. It's pure speculation. The winds down at the airport are blowing to 25 miles an hour. And it is easy to spread embers on a day like this, which is not unusually hot, but it's warm enough and the winds are strong enough so that it's possible, as you can see, the wind's taking the smoke in an almost horizontal direction, that it could be taking some embers with it. Because how else do you explain multiple houses being on fire at the same time? But there are many people that are trying to tackle the fires at the moment. You can stay with us for the latest. We'll keep you updated on air. And
oh, wait, there was an update at the end of this. Why didn't that play out? At the end, the woman comes back and says, we have an update. 6 houses, not 3 houses. So, do you see how windy it is? It doesn't look windy. Does not look windy at all. It looks like a little bit of wind, but certainly not 25 miles per hour. We listen to horse shit every single day. How could anybody feel good? Latest, after North Texas Dam shifted 3 feet, and telling all of these residents in the area to be ready to evacuate.
Yeah, Cleo, certainly a very nervous night and morning here in McLennan-Chisholm, where they are keeping all eyes on this reservoir. As you mentioned, it shifted 3 feet overnight, 6 feet in the last 24 hours. The mayor said that water is seeping through the dam as well, and that there's about 20 to 30 homes in the nearby neighborhood that could be at risk. They have brought in multiple pumps to try and alleviate the stress on the dam. Right now, there are no mandatory evacuations, but they did knock on the doors in that neighborhood to tell the people there they need to be prepared with their valuables in case they do have to leave the area. The Water Conservation District was on site this morning to monitor the situation and trying to make a determination on what to do next. A small bit of good news was there was no rain overnight, so that certainly helped their cause. But if more rain falls and the water keeps seeping through, the mayor said this area could be in for what he called a catastrophic failure of the dam.
Dams collapsing all over as well. South Africa. I did post a little bit of this last night, but the same kind of flooding. Cars, you see, just sailing away. You know, I just, man, do people need to ask questions?
On June 2nd, 2024.
Oh my word.
Or outages. And at least 4 missing. Many people also had to be evacuated from their homes, while many areas are also without electricity due to power outages. Cariega is among the areas that have been hit hardest, with video circulating on social Emergency services personnel were inundated with requests for assistance.
All right, I'll put the link in. You can watch the full video. But really, all of the floods have these what look like raging rivers. What's that about? Why? How did it shift? Yeah, how did the dam shift? The use of electromagnetic frequencies around the world has only increased now it's phenomenal. Phenomenal. The power, the energy of these frequencies. Can they use these frequencies to cause the raging rivers? Yes. Can they use these frequencies to bring down bridges, to collapse roads, to bust up roads, to cause dams to shift, to cause landslides and mudslides? Yes. Earthquakes? Yes. So there is nothing. If you hear someone saying definitively, giving a definitive reason for something that is happening, you should question them. Because no one can tell you definitively what is going on. I know weather modification is going on. I see the frequencies in use with the weather modification. We see the skies. Okay. But in terms of the volcanoes, in terms of the earthquakes, in terms of, virtually everything now. You can make your best estimation, you can make, speculations, but there's no one definitive reason that unless that person's on the inside and they know exactly. But not too many people are. And if they were on the inside, they'd be giving you horseshit as a definitive reason. When the sunflowers face away from the sun, something is very wrong.
Sehr komisch. Ja, aber weißt du, was mir aufgefallen ist? Die tun sich der Sonne weg.
Okay, not the best video. And there's nothing, oh, yes there is. So, all of these sunflowers are facing in the opposite direction of the sun. Maybe because it's just not the sun.
Die tun sich der Sonne weg.
They're screaming. It's way, way, way too hot. Way too hot. It's blinding us. It's killing us. It's hurting us. It's not just the sunflowers. I can't be in the sun anymore. Not like I used to. Because it hurts. Leaving Paradise. How Hawaii is trying to relocate Maui survivors.
Talking about this notice that was given to all of the survivors who are staying in hotels. So this is a notice that Jeff got, and it's just basically telling him that he will no longer be able to stay in the hotel he is at as of June 10th. So I'll give you guys some information that I've heard is that a lot of, like, for example, Jeff has been offered places to stay. The thing is that these places are not in West Maui, and they're often, just to put it simply, not very nice places to live. Sometimes they're in bad areas and are loud and just not conducive to, I guess, healing from this traumatic event that happened. And Jeff barely escaped the fire. And if you want to click right here, you could watch his survival story. And it's quite dramatic. So I'm just giving that background because I don't think there's going to be this big like increase in homelessness. I think they will have somewhere to live. It's just not going to be somewhere that is appropriate for them. Okay, and something else that will be ending on June 10th is the government food assistance. So until now, if you're a survivor of the tragedy, you can go to one of the hubs and get free food. And when I went there, it was a pretty good deal. They had like homemade meals. It wasn't just, here's a bunch of canned food, go make what you can. They were actually like prepared food. It looked pretty good, as well as food that you can take home. Now that's going to be cut off. And I think that is really it's in such poor taste, because if you look at how much money is going into other things like property management and the cleanup effort, the food, which is, I would say, the most important part of the benefits, is being cut off. So that makes me think it's a way to even further make it difficult for the survivors to make it on Maui and pushing them to relocate.
I will post the link. You can listen to the remainder of the video. It's only 12 and a half minutes. And this is how they get rid of people. We know it, we've seen it, and it continues to go on. Okay, here we have a volcano on Kailua. Is that Kailua Island, Hawaii.
We begin with breaking news this morning. Kilauea volcano is once again erupting on Hawaii Island. The U.S. Geological Survey says the new eruption began at approximately 12:30 this morning. It is about a mile south of the caldera within Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. Now, officials say the most recent eruption in this region was back in December of 1974. That one lasted only about 6 hours. This is a look at the images from the Halemaumau thermal camp from the west rim of the summit caldera. Officials stress that the current activity is restricted to the summit region, and it is not possible to say how long this eruption will last. The volcano alert level is now at a warning level. The aviation color code has gone from orange to red. Hazards do include fog, especially for downwind residents. We are in touch with the USGS, and we will pass along any updates as well as visuals as they do come in.
Oh, thank you, mainstream media reporter. So I came across this on my home YouTube page. Means of extinction: Antarctic super vortex is accelerating. Oh, listen to him for a few minutes.
From the Daily Mail in the UK comes an article titled "Antarctica super vortex is speeding up due to climate change, and it could melt thousands of square miles of sea ice, study reveals." The article was published on March 27, 2024. More sensationalistic headlines appear in other outlets. From the Daily Star on April 4th, 2024 is "Antarctica super vortex could put mankind underwater like an apocalyptic film." From ladbible.com on April 1st, 2024 is "Urgent warning over Antarctic supervortex that could affect fate of humanity." In addition to serving as clickbait, these headlines might be more accurate than the one in the Daily Mail. Corporate media outlets tend to avoid articles about human extinction. The story in the Daily Mail refers to a peer-reviewed open access paper in Nature. Here's the lead from...
Oh, and you can trust Nature. All right. What's going on in the Antarctic? I will link below to this video, which is an interview that, if you've not
Ladies and
seen
gentlemen,
it,
welcome.
I highly recommend it. Eric Hecker, who was an Antarctica firefighter for Raytheon, exposes the scary earthquake weapon and other directed energy weapons in the Antarctica. That could explain that super vortex that they're talking about. Man has done such a great job. And that's the man that includes the woman. But yeah, directed energy weapons confirmed in Antarctica. Let's see. Rumble.com. I wonder if this is the same. Let's see.
I had no fondness for Raytheon.
Okay.
I did a short stint after high school. And then
This is another interview, and I'll post the link. Might be too long. Did it go? Okay, good. Another interview. I don't know who's interviewing him, but this is Eric Hecker as well. So yeah, pretty much everything that you see, if you're not questioning now or doubting what you're reading, or especially when it relates to climate change and the sea level rising and the Arctic melting and all of that. I think most of you understand that they can bring all of that about easily with black carbon dust. I posted a video probably 10 years ago now, 11 years, 12 years, of a pilot who flew over Greenland, and he was flying over just this like sheet of ice, and he just saw that it was covered with black specks, and it was black carbon dust. What does that do? Melts ice. Yeah, okay. So, is America ready for degrowth communism? I'm just going to play a few minutes. I will post the link, but I do like the Money GPS. I have recommended him before. If you're not subscribed, you might want to check him out. But is America ready for degrowth communism? Another term. Love these terms.
Going to create progress. They're not going to make it easy. It is simply that we need to take care of things on our own and what we have control over. The first thing we need to discuss is what they call degrowth. This sounds like something coming out of the World Economic Forum. You will own nothing and be happy. But check this out. Degrowth holds that there will always be a correlation between economic output and carbon emissions, so the best way to fight climate change is for wealthy nations, I want to stop there, wealthy nations, not wealthy people, to cut back on consumption and reduce the material throughput that creates demand for energy and drives GDP. You see what's happening here? These, as they say, particularly in Europe and academic circles, this movement has started to catch on. Your life is too extravagant. Your life has too much abundance. And so the wealthy nations take from the overall world, because remember, if you earn $40,000 a year on a global scale, you're doing extremely well. But of course, where you live, it's probably not exactly what you would call rich. So they want to balance everything out when that makes no sense. If you live in, Silicon Valley area, or you live in the middle of nowhere, I think there's going to be a different cost of living. Things have to sort of find a balance to some degree. But there's some people somewhere that are ultimately deciding what you can and cannot have. This is shocking. And I'm going to show you different examples of the things that we are walking straight into. The price of everything has gone up. I'll show you a couple examples. Toronto City Council approves 9.5% property tax hike. 9.5% in a year. What do you think that does to people? Oh, they said it's only going to be 80 cents a day. Sure. Florida condo owners dump units over six-figure special assessments. That's one thing. They've got, of course, the rising insurance costs. You know it. You see it all the time. Home remodeling activity in the U.S. dips in the first quarter of 2024. People perhaps have had enough. They're kind of just waiting and seeing. I want interest rates to come down. It is not what it once was, let me tell you, okay? This is just showing us the different cities of the world that are the best for startups. And I think that when you look at different cities, some will actually encourage business. Some will encourage growth. Some will encourage one thing or another. And we want to be in the right place for us. That might be completely different for somebody else. If somebody's working in the oil industry, well, you've got to be in a certain spot, don't you? But if you're not, if you're working in tech, well, maybe Silicon Valley is the best place for you to be, right? So it really all depends. And I want to talk more about jobs. Look at this. A new study by job-seeking website Ladders found that high-paying remote jobs fell nearly 60%. While hybrid job availability fell 95% over the past year. Now that's a sample. Of course, we always see that. But for those looking for more than $250,000 or more, only 4% of those jobs are available for remote work. A year ago, it was 10%. They want people coming back into the office. The days of completely remote work, especially with a higher salary, are dwindling. Things are changing in the job market. It's becoming tighter. It's becoming more stringent. How employees are quiet vacationing while on the job. It's not quite quiet quitting, and it isn't exactly a hush trip. Quiet vacationing is more of a workaround. That's right.
All right. I'll put the link in again. You can watch this. But, yeah, a whole lot of the raising of the taxes, of the of the dumping of units, the insurance crisis it's all based on a lie called climate change. So this is big. Mexico, which is a very macho country, elected a very Catholic country, elected a Jewish woman who won a Nobel Prize in climate science. Oh, we need to really take a deep dive into who these people are. But this is huge, right? Whole lot of people, oh, so excited, a woman, the first woman, even before the United States, yay, yay, yay. All right, all of these countries are absolutely, the leaders are part of, we'll call them the cabal, or is it the cabal that is behind the curtain? They're the puppets for the cabal. When I heard that she got a Nobel Prize in climate science, you know what the climate science is. Because nobody's winning any Nobel Prize for going against the official narrative. So this could be really bad for Mexico, but they're so happy because it's a woman. It doesn't matter what sex, it doesn't matter what color of the skin somebody has. What it matters is that they're of sound mind and their core is not corrupted. They're moral, decent people who will actually do the job as a servant for the people. And not too many people are like that. I don't give a shit that it's a woman. But everybody's, yeah, a woman. Who cares? You know? What kind of woman is she? It's like when everybody was talking about Hillary Clinton being the first woman president. And I'm like, they were so excited. Are you flipping nuts? She is a psychopath, MAGA order. Just humongous psychopath. And nobody seemed to care. They only cared about what sex she was. They didn't want to have any real conversation about who she is, her character, her moral standing. These are not words that you even associate with that thing they call Hillary Clinton. So, all right, big deal though. So listen to this, man. Some border mayors headed to D.C. for Biden's immigration announcement. Oh, the pomp and circumstance. An executive order from our dictator in the White House, who is in violation of the law that he's supposed to be executing, immigration law. And this executive order is supposed to be maybe discouraging people from coming across the border, limiting how many people can come across the border. It's such bullshit. And any adult should recognize that. I'm sorry.
Power to shut down the U.S.-Mexico border, a power he said for the past 3 years he doesn't.
Okay, that's an abject lie. He claims that, well, Biden, I don't have the power to shut down the border. Really? You don't have the power to provide national security for Americans. That's what he's saying, essentially. And he said it not just once, but several times. I don't have the power to shut down the border. I have the power to write these executive orders, though. And who gave him that? Not the Constitution. Oh, God.
Give him the power to shut down the U.S.-Mexico border, a power he said for the past 3 years he doesn't have. The president's actions would reportedly restrict migrants' ability to claim asylum at the border once daily encounters reach certain thresholds. The number of 4,000 has been floated as a possible limit, but it's a plan that Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson says is too little too late. Kelly Meyer with us on the set. You reported over the weekend that the White House has tried to get some border mayors to come here for this announcement, stand behind the president, say this is going to make a big difference, do television interviews and the like. Have they been successful in finding mayors?
It's a good question, and I think it's just as important who isn't going as who is, and it says a lot about who the administration is talking to. So we were checking in with Allie Bradley, who's on our border for us, working our sources, and found out there were some mayors that she was talking to that were not invited. And they said that we would have loved to be invited. We have a lot to say to President Biden.
We have a few thoughts.
Yeah, we have some things to say. But we know even the Democratic mayor of Eagle Pass was not invited, was not attending as of yesterday. There are some. We know the mayor of Brownsville is going to be going. That is somewhere that the president visited just recently when he went to the border. But we're hearing that this announcement's happening in Washington, D.C. I was curious if it was going to happen at the border itself, but he's inviting these mayors up to D.C. to do this announcement. What's interesting about it is the timing of it all. This is something that the White House has said they were weighing, potentially keeping all their options open, but nothing was yet decided. And then here they are now talking about this, saying that this is, looking like this is going to happen here tomorrow. So we have the latest data on the apprehension numbers just in from this weekend. Our Allie Bradley getting that from her sources. And I wanted to refer to that because according to the latest data from April, we have too, San Diego saw the most migrant apprehensions. And that was one of the mayors in the area that said he wasn't invited to this at the White House tomorrow. That's accounting for more than 20% of all southern border apprehensions that month, followed by Tucson, then Laredo. So as you mentioned, President Biden weighing shutting off asylum requests. He's also mentioning denying entry to migrants once the number of encounters exceed a new daily threshold. But as always, they said the decision remains to be seen. Again, the question of why now, as you said, House Speaker Mike Johnson saying it's too little too late. The Hill Sunday spoke with Congresswoman Nancy Mace about this. Let's see what she had to say. Take a listen.
But the devil is always in the details. Like that Senate bill that came through, there were a lot of great ideas, as I have said over and over again, but for every good idea, there was a loophole on the next page that basically meant nothing. And so I would want to make sure that we're building the wall, that we are limiting and banning these people from coming across the border illegally. Look, over 9 million illegals have crossed in our country.
Do you think this executive order is going to do anything? I don't. You know, what's really like troublesome, if I can use that word, troublesome, is that we're being lied to so outrageously on every issue. And most Americans know it. But this is what, there's such a disconnect between the people and the government. And they just go off and spew their bullshit, sign their documents, have their congressional hearings, and everything just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. So it did seem obvious even decades ago that the American people really needed to stand up, hold those accountable for the lies that they tell. So here we are. We didn't do that. And it's gotten so bad, so dark, and so evil that it's like, every day is just, especially with a sun that comes down, like it's holding a magnifying glass, shooting down on you. It's like, it's hard enough to trudge through every single day, just with this weather and the depletion of oxygen in the air. That I am convinced, because, and I'm not the only one who says it, there is something definitely different about our air that we are breathing. The evaporation that's taking place. Waters, that we're like 70% water? That evaporation is also taking place in our own self. And no food has any nutrition anymore. The water that we're drinking and all of the chemicals, all of the everything, the nanoparticulates. So it's hard enough to just trudge through every single day. But then to listen to lie after lie after lie. And you want the people to be better, to be screaming, yeah, we're mad as hell and we're not going to take it anymore. Oh, that was just a movie, Carol. Oh, damn, you're right. Well, we've got a big problem. And even if somebody told Biden, well, you actually do have the power to close down the border. Oh, I do? Oh, well then, why don't we do it? Do you know how many illegals are in the country? They've got a whole lot of military-aged men that even if they closed it off now, we are so unsafe and all of that is going to boil over. So let's say they closed it down, didn't let us out, didn't let any more in. Everybody would go, yay! Not realizing it is a powder keg in the United States, ready to go off. Migrant who shot 2 police officers in Queens crossed into U.S. illegally. What? Oh my God. This is mainstream media in New York. This is in Elmhurst.
Hazel, good morning. And all morning we've been watching police work here along 23rd Avenue, part of a very large crime scene going up and down this stretch here, focused on finding clues. And this hour, new details to share from their investigation and about that suspect. First, a look at the gun. Police say 19-year-old suspect Bernardo Raul Castro Mata used to open fire on 2 NYPD officers overnight. Authorities saying he carried that firearm illegally and that it's now in evidence. And even more evidence found at the crime scene. Here's a look at the moped. Authorities say those 2 officers first noticed that suspect riding overnight and also spotted several evidence markers near where those shots were fired this morning. The NYPD commissioner sharing even more about those tense moments.
They observe. This should not be happening.
Good morning, New York. I woke up this morning to a press conference that the mayor and NYPD commissioner were having, and it was infuriating to hear that once again, our NYPD officers were attacked, and in this case, shot by a migrant in Queens. This is an individual residing at a former Marriott. We, the people, are paying to house these illegal immigrants that are committing crimes and disrespecting our laws, hurting our police officers. This individual was a suspect is a suspect in a robbery pattern, snatching purses, pickpocketing while riding these mopeds. That's what our mayor is doing, forcing us to pay to continue to house these individuals in what was luxury hotel rooms, and it is outrageous. It is outrageous. I'm calling on all the Democrats to stop this nonsense. Let's stop it. You need to comply with ICE, New York City, to deport these individuals who are committing crimes on our streets. Stop protecting them. Stop housing them. Stop.
And stop all of what you're saying and call it out for what it is. Treason. Are these people afraid to use that word? We've got treason going on. My God. Well, yeah, American man predicting huge, wide-scale unrest this summer. What's going to be happening?
You guys think George Floyd was bad? Wait until this summer when it's the migrants versus the citizens of the United States. And you're forced to join in because there is not enough police and there is not enough military to handle the millions of migrants that have been let in. What kind of chaos do you think will happen when those riots start to pop off? Have you seen the acceleration of the promotion of these crimes that they are committing across mass media? They are starting to ramp up migrant crime just like they ramped up police officer crime against black people in 2020. Now they're doing that with migrants against citizens, and what they're going to try to do is to create a riot situation all summer long, total disruption that the American man and citizen is going to have to participate in. You guys think George Floyd was bad? Wait.
And I have to agree. You know, I hope I'm wrong, but I think we're going to see a very violent summer. And it's going to increase as we get closer and closer to that election. And a whole lot on the right want their savior to win. And if he doesn't, what's going to happen? Then it's going to be Republicans against Democrats, and this is going to be a shit show. And all of those who are orchestrating it are just going to be watching and laughing. And listen to this. Arizona House members at Yuma border. Just listen to a few minutes.
Good. Very good. Let me just say that this is long overdue. I am Ben Tomar. I serve as the Speaker of the House. And as I'm sure most of you know, tomorrow we are going to be debating and final passing HCR 2060. And as the sponsor of the bill, it was important for me to invite the House to come down here and actually see what is going on, to see it ourselves, to tour the border. And so we did that very early this morning, 1 a.m. or so. So we got back very early, late, a few hours later. What was it, 4:30 or so, that we got here? We got back, and it's been meetings in many ways since, and including, obviously, I want to thank the hospital for hosting us here. It was a great discussion, although short, probably too short, but incredibly important nonetheless. And I can tell you that having seen myself now, and I'm not going to speak for anyone else, but they can speak for themselves, but having seen with my own eyes what's going on at the border is a very different experience than just having theoretical knowledge of what's actually happening. So I think every American that can should interest themselves more in what's happening. The costs are skyrocketing. A little fact that I've learned is from 1979 to 2009, so it's over 30 years, we had less people crossing the border than we have under this administration, just for the last 3 years, which is unconscionable. We're creating a humanitarian disaster. We have got obviously major issues with human trafficking, with fentanyl, and HCR 2060 is attempting to help and do something about all of those pieces. Now, I will fully admit to everyone that this is fundamentally the federal government's job, but they are not doing it. It's really that simple. They're not doing it, and so we are doing what we can and doing only what we think is right in terms of getting some tools in the toolbox for our law enforcement to use to enforce laws. And by the way, the federal government is not enforcing federal law. That's part of the issue here. And so one of the things that I've personally found most interesting going to the border last night is, we went through a couple of different locations and saw things, including tunnels and whatnot, but then at one point we were at our final stop and we hadn't seen anyone yet, and we were talking about what was going on the other side, and all of a sudden the light came on, Border Patrol, what was it, 50 yards away or so from us, there were 40 migrants just standing against the fence. Everybody was quiet. We had no idea. We would have never noticed that they were there had Border Patrol not just happened to be there right then. And they were processing these migrants. And they weren't even on this side of the border. I mean, it's this side of the fence. I don't want to misspeak. They were on this side of the border, but not on this side of the fence. And that is very interesting. So now, because of this administration's policies, they don't even have to get on the other side of the fence that we've put up to stop migration. We are doing it for them. We're processing, we're opening the gate, we're letting them in, and we're sending them to anywhere that they want to go. I've said this before, and I quite frankly don't have any other way of saying this other than we have lost our minds as a country. And if we don't start paying attention, the human cost, we're already seeing it. In Maricopa County alone, we're losing, 5 to 6 people a day now to fentanyl overdoses. I mean, we are literally killing Americans and allowing that and enabling that to happen. This has got to stop. What is HCR?
Yep. And he's absolutely right. We have lost our minds. Collectively speaking, not just the government officials. Look, the evil people that are driving these agendas, they haven't lost their minds. They're focused. The people have lost their minds for allowing this to continue and continue. And more are getting pushed over the edge. More and more are dying. More and more are getting destroyed. And we don't, a whole lot, want to just ignore it. I don't get it. It's not inspiring. Bad energy. So here, now Rand Paul, so that guy thinks that it's going to be the migrants against the citizens. And, look, if anybody calls me, I just want to say that even if I've spoken to you before, and I may not have spoken to you in a while, you need to email me and tell me what your number is so that I know who's calling. I'm not answering calls of numbers that I don't recognize and may have forgotten over the years or whatever. So if that person who has called now a number of times, you need to email me and just let me know. That would be helpful. So, and Rand Paul thinks it's going to be, Democrats versus Republicans. Rand Paul warns of war in the streets coming from Trump verdict.
Your expectation is that President Trump could still win the election despite what has taken place. What is your reaction to the conviction and the guilty conviction?
A sad day in America, and what I worry about is something even bigger than Donald Trump. I worry about strife. I worry about war in the streets. I worry about 50% of the public believing that the court system will be used against them. Once upon a time it was because of the color of your skin, now because of the shade of your ideology. I worry about that, and I worry when half the country thinks they won't be treated fairly, what happens and how people react. If you look at records violations and you look at Hillary Clinton, $8 million expense, and they slapped her on the wrist because she got an $8,000 fine, and that's actually probably appropriate, some kind of fine for mislabeling things. But there's a real question whether it is mislabeled. Was it a legal expense? Sounds like it was a legal expense. All non-disclosure agreements, I believe, are legal expenses. I'm guessing there are hundreds of them in New York City as we speak, and my guess is not one of them have ever been taken to court. I think Donald Trump is the only person ever prosecuted for this particular crime.
But he's made a fortune off it. He's made a fortune off it. Multi-billionaire. Give to me. He's now up to what? Like 400 million? Damn, I wish I was prosecuted and lost and came out smelling that wealthy. So, I will go through this quickly. Trump joins TikTok. When he was president, talking how TikTok was a serious national security issue and it needs to be banned. Now he has joined TikTok. That makes sense. He's so a part of the swamp that he just, looking at his name, it's kind of like, it gives a smell of shit. Girls deserve their own spaces, yes, and their own sports, absolutely. It's not right what's happening, of course. Deep down, even the TRAs know it. So this is Gays Against Groomers, who are fighting this transgender agenda. And, oh God, and it's June. Gay Pride Month. Oh, flippin' month, please.
Thank you for sticking up for our girls. Oh, you're so welcome. Right there. With my daughter. Yes. And she just won the 400. I got second place because of Right. She's first place. Oh my gosh. Oh, thank you for sticking up for our girls. Oh my gosh. I've made so these people sick. Thank you for sticking up for our girls. Oh, you're so welcome. Right there. That's my daughter. Yes. And she just won the 400. I got second place because of right. She's first place. Oh my God.
Another one loses out. This is happening to so many girl athletes. The boys just come in and say, well, I identify as a boy. Let me compete against you. And they walk off with the number one trophies. How are we allowing this to happen? Adults are breaking the hearts of all of these young girls. There are no words. There are no words for the turn that has taken place in this country and adults just sitting back and doing nothing. No words. Idaho bar celebrating heterosexual awesomeness month in June creates a stir. Well, yeah. A saloon in Idaho is drawing both jeers and cheers for its cheeky counter programming to Pride Month, declaring June Heterosexual Awesomeness Month, billing it as a celebration of all things straight. Come join us all month. It's a shame that they have to do this, with guns and dead animals. But Thursdays are ladies' nights, heterosexual ladies to be precise, with her hetero happy hour. Her hetero happy hour. Men have Mondays where they're going to be, I guess, in a competition for who dressed more heterosexual. Wednesdays for couples where they'll have 15% off their bill. I don't see a problem with it, but of course a whole lot of people do see a problem with it. And how dare you? It's a slight to the LGBTQ community. No, it isn't. Just have your flippin' weird sexual parades in front of children, as you get away with, and let people just do what they want. God. So, here we go. Passengers removed as infectious diseases team called to divert a flight. Passengers were removed from a flight after it was forced to land due to cases of suspected infectious diseases. They give you no details on what the disease was or any of the symptoms that these passengers had. Nothing. But wow, they're on it and keeping everybody safe. Even diverting flights, having them land, and removing passengers. They also removed a disruptive passenger, maybe pissed off that the flight was being diverted for someone who had the sniffles. United Airlines. It was flight UA998 flying off the south coast of Ireland when it was diverted to Dublin Airport over two separate incidences on two separate. Remember when flying was just a boring thing you had to get through? Not anymore. So, flight from Brussels to New York's Newark Airport. The flight had been expected to leave early this afternoon, but this was delayed as an infectious disease team arrived to carry out tests. Passengers were kept on board for the duration. Now is what virus is on board, if anything? That's the question. What's the virus on board, if anything? One of the passengers wrote on Twitter. United Airlines confirmed one disruptive passenger was removed from the flight. 2 more people were also removed, including both the ill passenger and a person traveling with them. The condition of the unwell passenger and whether they did have an infectious disease has not yet been confirmed, but the departments of public health respond to notified cases of suspected infectious diseases, undertake a risk assessment of the situation, and control measures are put in place, if required, to protect the public health. So they remove them. They get on board. They do their tests with somebody who might have an infectious disease. They keep all of the passengers locked inside this tube while they're, I guess, testing, but they removed these passengers. So it must have been something serious. But they let all of the other passengers, it's an infectious disease. Meaning communicable. That doesn't sound right. Does it? All right. So Fauci was brought before a congressional hearing. You know how those go, right? But actually, Marjorie Taylor Greene was entertaining.
You were quoted on CBS Face the Nation saying it's easy to criticize, but they're really criticizing science because I represent science. Do you represent science, Mr. Fauci?
I am a scientist who uses the scientific method to gain information.
Yes, you said you represent science. Do you represent science, Mr. Fauci? Yes or no? Yes or no?
No, that's not a yes or no answer.
Yes, it's a yes or no.
I don't think it is.
Okay, well, we'll take that as a you don't know what you represent.
Oh,
But this, as director of the NIH, you did sign off on these so-called scientific experiments. And as a dog lover, I want to tell you this is disgusting and evil, what you signed off on, and these experiments that happened to beagles paid for by the American taxpayer. And I want you to know Americans don't pay their taxes for animals to be tortured like this. So the type of science that you are representing, Mr. Fauci, is abhorrent, and it needs to stop. Mr. Fauci, you also represent the type of science where you confess that you made up the COVID rules, including 6 feet social distancing and masking of children.
I never said I made anything up.
You admitted that you made it up. You made it up as you went.
I made it up.
So are you saying this is fake news, Mr. Fauci?
I didn't say I made anything up.
What did you say?
I said that it is not based in science and it just appeared.
But this is science.
What does dogs have to do with anything that we're talking about today?
These are scientific experiments. This is what you signed off on. But you also told the American people they had to distance by 6 feet. They had to wear masks. But let's also talk a little bit further about the type of science that you represent. NIH scientists made $710 million in royalties from drug makers, a fact that's been hidden. Let's talk about the fact about, is it right for scientists and doctors getting paid by the American people, government taxpayer paychecks to get patents where they're paid millions and hundreds of millions of dollars in royalty fees, especially when the NIH and these government agencies, most powerful agencies in our country, are recommending medical suggestions and advice and making up guidelines like 6 feet distancing and masking of children. Do you think that's appropriate? Do the American people deserve to be abused like that, Mr. Fauci? Because you're not doctor, you're Mr. Fauci in my few minutes. No, I don't need your answer. I want to talk about this right here.
Mr. Chair,
Fauci,
objection.
I reclaim my
Mr. Chair,
time.
objection.
I reclaim my time. I reclaim my time, Mr. Raskin.
Gentlelady will suspend.
That was one of the most insulting things to Americans, having to watch the games from home where you got to go and enjoy the game and sit right next to people not following the 6 feet of distancing, not wearing your mask, and everyone else was forced to stay home and stop enjoying life. And your science here, your science is displayed perfectly in this picture where children in school were put in plastic bubbles because of your science, your repulsive, evil science. And let's go back to your very own email. You said earlier you don't use email. Oh, you do. Right here. This is your own email where you said the typical mask you buy in the drugstore is not really effective in keeping out virus. I do not recommend that you wear a mask. This is your email. This is your own words. But yet children all over America were forced to wear masks. Healthy children forced to wear masks, muzzled in their schools. And then they were forced to learn from home because of your so-called science and your medical suggestions, while you and all your cronies get paid from Big Pharma. You know that what this committee should be doing? We should be recommending you to be prosecuted. We should be writing a criminal referral because you should be prosecuted for crimes against humanity. You belong in prison, Dr. Fauci.
Mr. Chairman, I have another point of order.
I recognize Ms. Dingell.
Just want to make sure the record is clear. Dr. Fauci testified that he did not use his personal email for official business. He did not say he did not use email. And I think today, this particular has been full of lies and disregard and disrespect, and we need to stick to facts. I think it's important to make clear the harms that you and your loved ones have suffered because of these deeply irresponsible acts.
I can't listen to her. I have to say, Marjorie does tell a lot of truth, but this divide, Republican, Democrat, yeah, people have to get off that. People have to get off it. These people are never going to get off it, but the American people need to get off it and do some research. Stop being so lazy. Do some research to find out the truth for yourself. She's absolutely right. He should be prosecuted for crimes against humanity, especially what was done to the children. Everyone involved should be prosecuted. Should at least lose their jobs. Children in masks. And they're going to do it again, no matter how much evidence comes out. They'll do it again. Because the American people on the whole won't stand up. Because they're not courageous people. They're little children who need mommy and daddy to tell them what to do. And just like abused children in a very sick family, they're afraid. They're afraid to stand up to mommy and daddy. And here, so Epic Times, feds indict far-right media exec in massive money laundering scheme. Bill Gone, the chief financial officer of the far right. It's always put in, oh, far right, okay, fine, far right. Epic Times was indicted Monday on charges of allegedly participating in a massive money laundering scheme. 61 years of age, Secaucus, New Jersey, charged with one count of conspiring to commit money laundering, which carries a maximum sentence of 20 years in prison, 2 counts of bank fraud, each of which carries a maximum sentence of 30 years in prison. Charges do not relate to the media company's news gathering activities, but of course, yeah, it's known for its conspiratorial articles, vehement opposition to the Chinese Communist Party, socially conservative values. So, no one is going to know the truth of anything, but with all of these far-right people facing charges and we don't know if it's bullshit or not, the right is going to get more and more angry. So Rand Paul might be right. And clown mask homicide. Father of 5 shot to death outside Houston motel parking lot. Oh my God, the crimes. It's impossible to show you everything that's going on a daily basis. Arizona, I think this is Arizona. Albuquerque, yeah. Video of, wait a second, New Mexico, I'm sorry. Deadly Walmart shooting.
In just a matter of seconds, an attempted arrest outside an Albuquerque Walmart turned into a deadly wrestling match over an officer's gun. Albuquerque police leaders released that shocking new video today of a deadly takedown last month. It was the 5th police shooting by APD this year. Griffin Rushton is here now to walk us through some pretty intense video. Griffin.
Yeah, it is. And it all started with this woman, Adriana Gonzalez. APD officers tracked her down to the Walmart near Monolan, Wyoming in early April after a string of armed robberies, but she wasn't alone. Detectives quickly learned Mark Benavides, who was already wanted by police, was there with her. And when the two of them split up, officers jumped into action.
Put your hands out like an airplane. Put your hands behind your back.
Arresting Adriana Gonzalez was the mission when APD detectives arrived at this northeast Albuquerque Walmart in early April.
The warrant was for robbery with a deadly weapon, 3 counts of conspiracy to commit these crimes.
Gonzalez surrendered in the parking lot while officers waited for her boyfriend, Mark Benavides, outside the store.
Mark, who again had an unrelated warrant for his arrest and was suspected as being involved with the armed robberies.
And officers were ready once he walked out.
Let's see. What's up, Mark? Stop right there. Stop right there. Stop right there.
Surveillance video shows detectives tackling Benavides to the ground. And in the chaos, you can see he gets his hands on the detective's rifle.
Mark put his finger on the trigger of the police rifle. Soon after, Mark used his other hand to turn the safety off on the police rifle.
And then, more officers joined the pile.
Hey, taser.
And before Benavides fires again, another detective gets her hands on it.
Detective attempts to disarm Benavides and helps point the weapon Benavides is taking control of towards the ground.
We have such an exciting country. How about more stores closing in Oakland?
Happening so often that 7-Eleven has shut down 2 Oakland stores recently. The 2 shuttered locations are on MacArthur Boulevard and 23rd Avenue. A source familiar with the situation tells reporter Dahlin they closed a month ago due to repeated burglaries and robberies.
A source tells me 7-Eleven closed down the 2 stores on April 30th. They removed the logos and boarded up the storefronts. Now they're covered in graffiti and some broken glass. Now the remaining stores in Oakland, I'm told they're dealing with a lot of crime. The latest 7-Eleven burglary in Oakland happened Saturday morning before 5 a.m. They were closed at the time. Burglars backed a stolen car to break down the glass doors. Manager Gotham Kumar says it's the 3rd burglary at the store in 5 months.
It's really tough to run the business now these days. You know, most of the insurance company, they are running out.
Gotham says the burglars are targeting cigarettes. He says the burglars on Saturday took about $10,000 in cigarettes, and it cost them a few $1,000 to repair the doors.
Like almost $15 a pack, so they're targeting cigarettes.
Investigators say there's a big demand for cigarettes on the black market.
We've got an awful lot of organized crime going on in our country, and unfortunately the police don't seem to be doing much of anything. Another road rage shooting. It just doesn't stop, huh? This also in New Mexico.
Unit was in the lane to the left of Chavez.
I seen the black SUV, which was a state trooper.
To back up the fear many of us feel every time we hit a busy road in the metro. If someone cuts you off on your morning commute, how do you react? Well, tonight we see one local man regret his reaction in real time in front of police. Police say Paul Marquez was involved in a road rage incident on Paseo del Norte last month, and officers believe it because they basically saw it with their own eyes. Tamara Lopez got a much better look at how things unfolded and what led to the arrest here, Tamara.
Well, Julie, New Mexico State police officers arrested Marquez shortly after they say he shot at another car while he was on his way to work. Now, the reason the officers were able to arrest him so quickly is because they were right next to the car that they say he allegedly shot at.
Get out of the car! Get over here! Stand over here! Walk right there!
This is the moment Paul Marquez knew he was not going to make it to work on time. New Mexico State police officers arrested him for shooting at another driver on Paseo del Norte last month. And newly released video from NMSP shows how it all went down. This video is from the other driver, Victor Chavez's dash cam. You can see the white SUV, Marquez's, cut in front of Chavez. Chavez says that's when Marquez first pointed a gun at him.
Pulled up beside of me and he rolled down his window, and that's when he flashed me his firearm. I still had all my windows rolled up. I didn't roll my windows down or nothing.
But what Marquez didn't know was an unmarked NMSP unit was in the lane to the left of Chavez.
I seen the black SUV, which was a state trooper, so I sped up to try to flag him down. I rolled down the window and I was honking at him, waving him down, and that guy pulled up to the right side of me. He didn't realize that there was a state trooper that was trying to wave down. And from there, that's when he fired 3 shots.
Chavez's dash cam catches the moment officers pull Marquez over and eventually arrest him.
Yeah, you have the right to remain silent.
I know the whole gist, whether you're good.
But in a later interview, Marquez seems to drop that attitude.
I was going to work, and then this dude who was just was in altercation with, he cut me off and almost came close to hitting me, and it escalated from there, and it shouldn't have. That was my fault.
He says,
"Oh man, be careful out there." New video shows response at home where man allegedly murdered a 2-year-old, his 2-year-old daughter. What? I'll post the link if anybody wants to. All right, this is, dude. They are using those sound weapons already. It's not that they can't wait to use them. They're in use and making people crazy that they are picking up these kinetic weapons. So, Israel army stretched as fighting rages on multiple fronts. Yeah, it's Lebanon, it's Syria, it's Gaza, it's the West Bank, having a strain on its capabilities. Okay. A whole lot of people think that the IDF has lost already. They certainly have lost the winning the hearts and minds of the people around the world. Failed strategy, 100%. They're not stupid. They know what they're doing. They know that the more they expand the war, the more deaths in Gaza and the West Bank, that more and more people are going to be 100% against Israelis. So they're instigating the world. Israel pounds Aleppo in fresh attack. Iranian IRGC, casualties confirmed, killed an Iranian military advisor, possibly more Iranian militia members as well as civilians. This is only going to put Jews, Israelis, in a position of just sitting ducks. IDF announced deaths of 4 hostages in Hamas captivity. All right, so, yeah. According to the IDF, they were not killed on October 7, but rather afterward, while being held in Gaza. The military said that the 4 were killed in the Khan Yunis area a number of months ago. The IDF further said that the 4 hostages were killed during a period when it was carrying out operations in the area. It's said that this revelation would raise difficult questions about the circumstances of the hostages' death, and that the military would continue to probe the issue. The IDF has already killed hostages, more hostages, and, you know, that we can't get this stopped is really just amazing. Maldives will ban Israelis from entering the country over the war in Gaza. As public anger in the predominantly Muslim nation rises over the war in Gaza, they are now banning Israelis from entering the country. A special envoy is appointed to assess the Palestinian needs and to launch a fundraising campaign. Nearly 11,000 Israelis visited Maldives last year. Will more countries begin to ban Israelis from entering their country? Outrageous U.S. military benefits. U.S. military benefits to foreign soldiers.
The legislation would grant IDF soldiers the same protections as U.S. military personnel while they're on active duty. Hey, but what about American idiots fighting in Ukraine? Will they receive benefits? How about that? I don't know. Is this amazing? Yeah. GOP, baby. Huh? F the Americans living under bridges. They had their chance. Now it's a foreign country's turn. That's what this is. That's right. Your tax dollars not only fund the weapons, but the retirement funds for all the genocidal psychopathic snipers who like killing moms because they're slower. All right, here's a little bit of the story. A bill introduced in the House by Representative Guy Reschenthaler, oh boy, and Max Miller would extend certain benefits for Americans serving in the U.S. military to American citizens in the Israeli military. The legislation, introduced on May 17th, would give Americans in the Israeli Defense Forces, the IDF, protections under the Service Members Civil Relief Act and Uniformed Services Employment and Reemployment Rights Act, or the SCRA protects U.S. service members from civil legal actions while they're on active duty and for up to a year after. So if you go commit crimes, that's what they're saying. You can't. Is that what this is?
That's what this is.
Is that what
for?
This is? Is that what civil legal actions while they're on active duty? Is that what this
when
is?
The crimes come out like they did with the other thing.
Is that what that is?
Civil is not criminal. So, they're not right on that. But why? You know, well, they're doing everything to piss off everyone. Will that piss off our veterans here who fought for our freedom over there so we didn't have to fight over here? But how many veterans do you know are on the streets because their benefits have been denied because they're not being taken care of? So for the American Israelis, we're going to be giving them benefits from U.S. taxpayer dollars. It's not enough to give the billions on an annual basis and a whole lot more billions since this war started October 7th. But our Creator said not to fear, and so I don't. Good for you. I would think that there's an awful lot of pissed off Americans and getting more and more pissed off. An entire unit of Israeli soldiers on their way to Gaza explicitly declaring their intention to massacre civilians, wipe out the seed of Amalek. Oh, the crazy religious beliefs. All of it is, as far as I'm concerned, it's purposeful to get people to really hate Israelis. It's easy to get people to put, just in a category and then think that all of those people are exactly the same. That is sick thinking, but that's what an awful lot of people do. So, to get people pissed off at Jews, to get people pissed off at Israelis, and none of this is good. And Israelis should be horrified and screaming about that kind of behavior that's going on, because the ripple effects of it affect all the Israelis. John Kirby on airstrikes. We did the same thing. Of course we did. That's why I put evil, good. You got good people, you got evil people. You got evil in every group, every religion, every race, every sex, it's the evil versus good. And there's not a whole lot of good soldiers out there fighting against the evil.
We have conducted airstrikes in places like Iraq and Afghanistan, where tragically we caused civilian casualties. We did the same thing. We have conducted airstrikes in places like Iraq and Afghanistan, where tragically we caused civilian casualties. We did the same thing.
And look at that expression. We did the same thing. So what? Does that make it okay? I mean, no, doesn't. Why I don't condemn Hamas for October 7th. This is a good analogy.
For October 7th. In 1999, a woman named Cindy Hendy was stabbed in the neck with an ice pick by a woman named Cynthia Vigil inside a trailer home in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Vigil then fled the scene to a nearby residence, whose owner promptly called the police. She was never charged with any crime. The reason Cynthia Vigil was never charged with any crime, despite having stabbed Cindy Hendy in the neck with an ice pick, was because Hendy was an accomplice of the serial killer David Parker Ray, also known as the Toy Box Killer. Vigil's escape from the trailer where Ray and Hendy had been imprisoning and torturing her led to the pair's subsequent arrest. Ray died in prison 3 years later, the full extent of his murder spree still unknown. Hendy served 19 years and was released in 2019. Cynthia Vigil was never charged with any crime because anyone could see that violent force was an entirely understandable and legitimate response to having been kidnapped and subjected to horrific treatment. It never at any time occurred to anyone to say that she should have acted differently, and it most certainly never occurred to anyone to make her single act of desperate violence the major story, instead of the fact that there was a serial killer who'd been abducting women and torturing them in his murder dungeon. And, imagine how absurd it would have been if they'd done that. Imagine if, after the Toy Box Killer story broke, all the major headlines were about a woman stabbing another woman with an ice pick. Imagine if the ice pick stabbing was all the press ever wanted to talk about for month after month after month, instead of the fact that people had been imprisoned and subjected to savage abuse by a cruel serial murderer. Imagine how absurd it would have been if, any time someone was interviewed about this case in the news, they were asked if they condemned Cynthia Vigil for her brutal, evil, sadistic ice pick stabbing of Cindy Hendy. Imagine how absurd it would have been if the press kept framing the incident as though Hendy was just standing around, innocently minding her own business, and was then victimized by a barbaric and unprovoked attack by Vigil. Imagine how absurd it would have been if everyone kept the story focused on the ice pick stabbing, and any time anyone tried to point out that the stabbing only occurred because Cynthia Vigil was being imprisoned by a deranged serial killer and his female accomplice, they were hysterically denounced as Vigil apologists and supporters of neck stabbing, and told that nothing, absolutely nothing, could ever excuse or justify the violence that Vigil inflicted upon Hendy on that terrible day. Imagine how absurd it would have been if, rather than coming to Vigil's rescue and arresting those who'd victimized her, the police had returned Vigil to her captors and helped David Parker Ray resume his murderous lifestyle. Imagine if, while helping David Parker Ray re-establish his status quo lifestyle of kidnapping, torture, and murder, arguments were made by law enforcement and the media that obviously Ray's murder dungeon has a right to exist, and that Ray and his accomplices have a right to defend their home and their way of life. Imagine if Ray had greatly escalated his murderousness and sadism in full view of the entire world following Cynthia Vigil's attempted escape, and people defended this by solemnly invoking the horrible, awful day when Vigil launched an unprovoked ice pick attack on Cindy Hendy's neck. Imagine if, in order to help justify their support for Ray's murderous rampage, the police and the media had sown lies and disinformation about what Vigil did during her escape attempt, claiming she sexually assaulted Hendy and beheaded her baby and put its body in an oven. It's hard to imagine anything being more ridiculous, is it not? It's hard to imagine a more obscene reversal of victim and victimizer, and a more absurd response to someone's desperate efforts to escape from her abusive captors. It's about as backwards and insane as anyone could possibly be about anything, and anyone who tried to get you to believe such an absurdity would obviously be a psychologically abusive gaslighter who should never be believed about anything ever again. Clearly, they have a demented perspective, every part of which should be rejected in every way possible. Anyway, yeah, that's why I've never condemned Hamas for October 7th.
So, even an analogy, the individual to the collective. The individual of Vigil to the collective IDF. It works. It absolutely works. So, it is 6:45, and I just want to read a comment because I didn't understand it. It's, yep. But until so-called good people don't stop calling one group better than others, it will never change. Because how can we expect others to do any better? I need clarification on that. I think I'm understanding it, but until I get that clarification, I can't address it. I can't respond to it. So, yeah, we've got an awful lot of evil out there, and the good soldiers, God's soldiers, where are they? We've got to live honestly, and we have to speak honestly if we ever, ever, ever want anything to change. Unfortunately, just thinking you do ain't enough. You really do need to do that self-reflective work and raise your consciousness to begin to see how you weren't living what you thought you were living, how you were operating in life. That requires work, and it requires actually time. Unfortunately, I don't think we have much time. So, what we can do that's in our control is help those in need. Help those in need. You know, become, a pillar of your community. Be an example of helping those in your community. Extend yourself to those. You see an awful lot of people losing their homes due to weather warfare. A whole lot of people are close to these areas. You could drive into those areas. You can see people who are strangers and just stop your car and get out and say, look, I saw this and, I'd like to help if there's anything that I can do. Yeah, be in the world, not of the world. That makes no sense to me. We're all in the world, and we need to be doing things to make it a better world. So, it's basically what I say. I don't understand. Maybe I'm just not cognitively with it. So, thank you, Mama Rages, for coming into the chat. We need to be the change that we want to see. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, thank you for showing up. I do hope to see you tomorrow. I want to check out radar and the tornado alert. Moving in. They're moving in the supercells. They're moving down the supercells, but they manifest and then they eliminate them. But this does not look good for Arkansas, Louisiana, and Texas. And will we have another lineup of supercells? That's a wait and see. All right, so all tornado warnings have been expired. Good. Good. So, yeah, stay safe, be alert, be aware of your surroundings, and on that note, I say good night and good luck. Ciao, guys.